In the last episode, you guys saw that I had my exhaust done by Wes, and there's still a couple of performance parts that needs to be done to this car. Some bushings have failed, some leather has failed, and there's some things that there's no way to tell whether or not it's functioning right without specific gauges. So we're gonna be putting all that stuff on today. Come with us. So the first step is going to be taking these atrocious seats out, especially this one, and to put these gauge pods in. A lot of the wiring has to go under and through and underneath the dash and all sorts of, through the firewall, all sorts of twisties, but we don't have a lot of room to get under here. So these are getting replaced anyways, so it'll just be easier if we take it out, which I don't know if I'm strong enough to do that. So I gotta get the official 1113 Motorsport mechanic. I gotta go get the 11.
Tag me in, coach.
Your turn.
Okay. First things first, let's get these seats unbolted and let's get them the hell out of there. Unbolted, unplugged, and out. Let's go. Okay, so we got a couple of 8mm Allens here. Oh, I guess they just slide off. Slide forward and out. There we go. Oh, they're at an angle too, so that's perfect. Beautiful. Next up, I gotta unplug whatever's under here. Green, red, and yellow connectors. That's what it's looking like. 3 of them all together.
Airbag is one of them.
Correct. So you're gonna wanna undo your battery.
Should we do that?
It's dead.
It'll start again. Do as we say, not as we do. Unplug your battery.
Whoever designed these connectors was a real a-hole. Clip on the top and on the bottom.
So you couldn't accidentally unplug them.
One done, son. So I did a little bit of a test fit on these seats, and it turns out that these brackets have this area here that prevents you from putting the long bolt that the TT requires to bolt down a seat into this part of the bracket here. So I have to drill a hole or cut a piece away from this bracket so that I can get the bolt in there to bolt these seats into the car. Something I didn't want to do, but you know, I think with it outside of the car, I can easily drill a hole to at least get the bolt through, and then we'll get these bad boys fitted. Well, just the passenger side for right now, but test fit's always required when you're putting in new parts. Sometimes it works, and sometimes you gotta do a little bit of modifying.
The biggest titanium bit we can find wasn't big enough, so we broke out the angle grinder.
Since you have to cut this for an Audi TT, over here is just fine, but where the seatbelt bracket is, you gotta be super careful because there's welds here, so you don't wanna compromise those welds. So you just gotta make sure you just get the corner so that we can get a bolt in here. So there we go. There's one side. Now time to be super careful with this side. Okay, so I got these trimmed up. As you can see, they're not as smooth as I'd like them to be, but they'll do for now. And I didn't really want to paint them because I didn't want to change the entire color of this. But I think just for now, this will work. I could always take it out and paint it later, so. But now we can actually get to the bolts for the seats. Well, the bolt holes. So let's get it back on the seat and get the seat in the car.
Because I am short, we bought Brahm's 1-inch spacer kit to raise the Brahm Elite X Series reclinable seats in black leatherette with white diamond stitch. Leatherette is not genuine animal leather and is faux leather or pleather, which is a fabric lined with plastic such as PVC or polyurethane. The bolstering keeps you held in place, and the material holds your skin to it, keeping you from sliding around on the seat. They are lightweight as well, offering weight reduction compared to the stock seats. The planted brackets were custom made for my Audi. Sort of.
Now I should be able to get the bolts in with ease. In which, yep, okay. Now we got it test fitted, and it looks like it's gonna bolt down nice and perfect. I can take it back out, I can do the passenger side, and then I can get started on the gauges. Okay, so we got the passenger seat bolted up. Now it's on to the next mod, which I left the driver's seat out so that I can access the under panel under by the driver's knees so that we can do a set of gauges. Now we got two different gauges. We got boost and we got oil pressure. I think these are kind of key for doing Mk1 TTs because pickup tubes clog and it couldn't hurt to look for vacuum leaks. So good diagnosis tools right here, and they're just going to be right into the vents on the middle of the dash. So they're going to be mounted right above the shifter, right on the dash. That way you're not looking too far to see your pressure or boost. So for the oil pressure gauge, it comes with two sets of connectors. One that goes underneath your dash. The TT has a nice convenient spot for ignition power and ground right underneath your knees, underneath the dash. So that's where this short cable runs, which we might have to extend it a little bit, so you might need some extra wire and stuff. And then the super long one goes out to the engine bay, which gets plugged into this sensor here, which goes into another adapter that I have here, wherever that may roam. But I had to get an adapter so that I can run the car's stock oil pressure sensor and this one so that the dash doesn't freak out and tell you you have low oil pressure when you don't, because you can see it. So this allows two sensors to be plugged into this adapter, and that gets bolted into the same spot that the oil pressure sensor for the car is in now. Glow Shift sent us this lovely hose with the boost gauge. And the boost gauge is actually quite simple. It's just that vacuum, and we got to tee it into the vacuum system in the car. And then we have this, which goes underneath the dash again. So these are going to go into the same spots underneath the dash, underneath your knees for the driver. And same ground and same ignition power. So it's going to be really simple with the wiring. The only thing that's going to be a little bit problematic is just shoving the hoses that we need and the electrical connection for the oil pressure sensor through the firewall and where it needs to go under the hood. So, without further ado, let's get started. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to take these gauges and I'm basically just going to mock them up into the car. So I'm gonna get them where they're sitting, which is in these vents here. And then I'm gonna put the wiring in place and make sure everything's all buttoned up with the wiring and the hoses are ran through the firewall. And then I'm gonna spin the car around, get it in our bay, and then plumb the rest under the engine, or under the hood. I gotta take this under tray off here. Make sure there's some bolts back here. Oh, okay, there we go. A couple of connectors here for the headlights and the dimmer switch. The OBD plug-in as well needs to come out. 3 little clippies to take that out. Anyway, there's a grounding point down here, which I will show you guys, and there is also ignition power and other bits that I will show you so you know which ones to tap into for installing said boost gauge or oil pressure gauge or what have you. This is where your ground is. This here is ignition switch power. This one right next to it is constant power. You're gonna need both of these, I'm pretty sure. One for the dimmer and then one for the boost gauge itself. I think, oh no, one actually holds the memory, which is the constant. And then the ignition on power controls the boost gauge coming on and off with the key. So get out of here, get out of here. We're filming here. A super imprezza, an imprezzo. Okay, so the next step is to take these vents out, which oddly enough, they just pull out. But I'm gonna use this just to not scratch, break anything, because I'm a big behemoth and my Goliath fingers tend to destroy stuff, unfortunately. That's a finesse problem though. Gotta work on that finesse. But I gotta pull these gauges, or pull these vents out so that I can put the gauges in and route the hoses and wiring underneath the climate and down to the wiring spot that we're gonna be working in. And also, I gotta route a connector for the oil pressure gauge to go through the firewall out to where we need it. And then for the boost gauge, I need a piece of vacuum hose to run out the firewall into the engine bay. All right, so these just literally, apparently, just pop out. And I don't feel like breaking anything today. My TT, but that's it. Look at that. Wow, that is a nice snug fit, even for being a 24-year-old car. Next up, we got these 3D printed pods here that slot right in here and fit perfectly for a 52 millimeter boost gauge or oil pressure gauge or whatever gauge you would freaking want. They go right into this dash here. And what I did on my TT was I actually took the aluminum bezels off of here very gently, very carefully. And I think I Velcroed them onto this just as like a temporary, just to see how it looks sort of thing. And it looks great with the aluminum bezel, because I wanted to keep a lot of the originality of all the aluminum stuff in the TT, because I like all the aluminum stuff. The TT fold over cover for the radio, it's just elegant in here. I mean, even the shift knob, I find it hard to replace my shift knob because it accents everything so well. It's like I like the originality. I just love this design. It's brilliant, really. Too cool for school, bro. Too cool for school. Anyway, these just pop in there like so. And then this one is here, and that's it. It literally just pops right in there, fits perfectly. And I got these off of a company from eBay. So some random Joe 3D prints them for you and sells them on eBay for, I forget how much. Cheap though.
They're like 20 bucks a piece?
Yeah, like 20 bucks. I think they might have been 20 bucks a piece. Which, I don't have a 3D printer, so job well done for me. I'll take it. Sold. Luckily for me, these wires just go right down in, so look, I already fished it through, and it's already on the underside, and it's not in the way of the climate either. And this actually has nice vents here, so you could still get air out of them. So it's still convenient, and these gauges are actually capable of handling heat or freezing cold AC, so they will be able to retain their rigidity. And I gotta run these wires through. It's totally okay. That is how it's gonna sit right here, right there. Boost gauge now. All right. So I made an oopsie. This side doesn't make it through the firewall, it's too big. So I gotta shove this through the firewall and leave this up there. So I gotta uno reverso this wire row, which is for the oil pressure sensor, and shove this one through the firewall in the hole, and then run it up. So, no biggie. Now I can shove this through. This is for the boost gauge, so we're gonna shove this through the firewall, and then I think that's everything that needs to go through the firewall.
We got some cool little connectors to try out since we don't do wiring very often. These butt connectors have solder inside them that melts under a lighter. The old crimp connectors always broke or let go of the wire ends, so we were hoping for a much stronger bond, which they are. These are so easy compared to the traditional connectors, and we ordered a set on eBay. Needless to say, they will always be in our garage from now on. We started with the red wires, which hook up to the ignition power. Just like Charles, the only wire we had that was the correct gauge was yellow. Don't mind that all of the added wire is yellow. We connected both wires from each gauge into the same eyelet connector since they are bolted into the same place. Then we did the same for the yellow wires for the constant power and the black wires for the ground. Added extra yellow wire and connected them into one eyelet. After some tape and being bolted up, it should look something like this.
This is the adapter piece I was talking about earlier, and this is so that you can have two oil pressure sensors. It's basically just an adapter that bolts into the same spot that you take the OEM sensor out of, and that way you can run one on the end, one on the side, and then you even have another one here if you wanted to test a test port or whatever you want, really. Another sensor. I don't know why you'd need three, but you know. Pretty simple to replace. Pretty simple to install. It's just tedious because it's kind of buried. It's under the intake manifold, on top of the oil filter housing, right above the oil cooler, I believe. So you gotta unplug that sensor, undo it, put this in, and then put your two sensors back in so that you can run some gauges.
Here is the OEM oil pressure sensor. Matthew unplugged the connector and used a 24mm socket to loosen it. Here is what it looks like.
This is gonna go here, and this is gonna go here. And it's gonna look something like this. You're gonna have to orient it the right way, so be careful with how much you tighten it. It's gonna look something like this. Just be careful with how much you tighten it. And it did come with a washer, so you gotta also be careful and be wary of the washer. I have it facing this way, so I'll be able to put a sensor right here, which is totally okay. I think it'll fit just fine.
The new sensor and the test port do not have washers, so thread locker is necessary.
Okay, so we're on to the next gauge, which is boost. So all we gotta do is install this T-fitting here and get our hose hooked up. So it's gonna go here on this piece of hose. Obviously I'm gonna push it on more, and then I'm gonna tee it in right here where this fuel pressure regulator is. So I gotta take this hose off, Give it a good snip. Pray. There it goes. Ta-da! That's the real nice part, is that it's pretty OEM plus right there. Like, there's not really too much extra going on in the engine bay aside from a wire running and an extra hose. But I mean, with this rat's nest, can you really tell? Because these cars just have a plethora of hoses and wires everywhere. I mean, it's not even a big engine, but it's crammed in such a tiny spot that there's just not much room for anything, really. So all the wires and stuff are just kind of all jumbled and packed, and I'm sure somebody's figured out a solution somewhere for a wire tuck harness or something like that, but that's not really my style. Oh yeah, 60 PSI, negative 18-ish of vacuum, which is, I think it's inches of mercury.
It is.
Yeah. So we got the seats done. Actually, there's one last thing to do with the gauges, and that's put the aluminum bezels on. And that's a very important step to complete this interior. And then we're on to more low and some wideness, right? Some actual, well, I guess a lot of this stuff was performance mods, wasn't it?
Join us in the next video where I install my new springs and some other mods that were unexpected buys.